I'm Jeff Philbin, and dinner is my middle name. Well, actually, it's Edward. But just imagine if it was dinner. Anyways, we have an idea for dinner for you today. Seared scallops. Find out if they're worth the splurge and how to cook them just right. Plus an easy Romesco sauce from scratch and how to cook with Caulilini and why it should be on your shopping list. Our guest today is Drew Dimitrovsky. He's the executive chef for new restaurant Juno and the Peacock on Beach Drive in St. Pete, taking over a corner spot which was 400 Beach. So the buzz is building. No pressure, my friend.
None at all.
But like, this is the exciting part of it all. I mean, like, are you thriving off of that like energy and
absolutely
channeling it all in?
I'm so ready. With the teams coming together, we're ready.
Awesome. Today, Chef Drew is taking time out from developing his menu to share one with us. Seared scallops with a cashew Romesco sauce and a charred corn relish and sauteed Caulilini. And you said this is a quick meal to make, and it feels like it's a restaurant quality meal done at the comfort of your home.
Absolutely. It's something that I regularly cook for my fiance probably every 2 weeks or so.
Wow, so this is in the rotation quite a bit then.
Yes, sir. So first thing that we're gonna do is I have some onion here that's just kind of rough chop, medium chop. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be fine with it. We're gonna puree it later.
Okay.
Whole clove of garlic, also not cut for the exact same reason. Mm-hmm. We're gonna toss with a little bit of neutral oil. This is like a canola oil, olive oil blend.
Okay.
Toss a little salt, a little pepper.
So really simple.
Very simple. And then we're gonna go in the oven. After we spread it on a sheet tray here, spread it out so get a little space in between those pieces.
Okay. And that's just going to go into the oven for what?
For about 8 to 10 minutes at 425.
Fantastic. If you want Chef Drew's dishes for your dinner, grab the recipes at our website, dinnerdeas.com. It's all there, the ingredients, the amounts, all there for you to follow along when you get cooking. Find us on your phone, just scan the QR code down there on the screen. So we've got our onions and our garlic in the oven. How do we get this beautiful corn relish going?
So next we've got a pan here that we preheated. This is pretty hot.
Yeah. And that's a good sign because you really want to get that nice sear right here.
You really want to get some good color on the corn here. A little bit of salt. So you see these spots of color here. I want to see it a little bit more encompassing each kernel.
Okay.
But again, look, they're popping out of the pan, man.
All I just need is some butter, some salt, and a really good movie, or a Dinner Diaz marathon, and I think we're set.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
So we're almost there. Like you see how quick that was, especially with a ripping hot pan like this. So here we go, right onto a sheet tray.
Okay.
Or a plate, whatever, anything to just spread it out so it'll cool off pretty quickly.
Okay.
And then we're gonna go into the fridge. This doesn't necessarily need to completely cool down all the way.
Okay.
You just want to take a little bit of that heat off because we will be adding cilantro to that relish, and you don't want it to wilt.
You don't want to wilt it down. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what else do we have to do then with this?
Well, we're gonna have to prep our onion here. Just take off the top and bottom, leaving a little bit of that root end.
Okay. Now, you used white onion for what's going to be the Romesco, and we've got a nice, beautiful red onion here. Why red onion for this selection?
So red onion, especially when you're eating it raw, tends to be a little bit less sulfurous than the other two types of onion. Mm-hmm. So when you do make these kinds of fresh salsas, not only does it add that nice bright pop of color that you want to see, but it just makes sense for the application because it's served raw.
Yeah, very nice.
We get a nice, fine dice on this. You don't want a big chunk of onion, especially raw onion like we were just talking, right?
Now, because this one here, we're going to be tossing all together. The other one, we're going to be pulverizing later on.
Exactly. So here we have our nice fine dice knife cuts. Mm-hmm. So this is a Fresno pepper.
Okay.
And I will say normally when I make this, if I make this dish at the restaurant, these would probably be pickled.
Okay.
But I think that at home you don't just have pickled Fresnos lying around, right?
Some might.
Well, if you do,
You can do that.
You can
and
do
that's
that.
the joy of a dish like this, it sounds like. If you wanted to kind of like, have the pickled, you could. If
Yeah.
you did it, you don't have to.
Exactly.
I love that.
And we're gonna get rid of some of those seeds.
Okay.
Right? So I'm gonna give these a quick trim, and it also kind of shapes them up, gives us a nice flat surface to work with when we go to cut, right? When we mince these, you can go from the inside and it'll be a little bit easier to cut through, and so you're not breaking through that tough skin on the outside. And we're just gonna do a really nice fine dice on these peppers.
With the corn relish on its way and our onion and garlic in the oven for the Romesco sauce, the foundation is in place for a great idea for dinner. When we come back, Chef Drew shares his tips for selecting, prepping, and searing scallops ahead on Dinner DeeAs. Welcome back to Dinner DeeAs. My guest today is Chef Drew Dimitrovsky from new restaurant Juno and the Peacock in St. Pete. And he's here to help us celebrate shellfish as we make seared scallops with a cashew romesco sauce, charred corn relish, and sauteed Caulilini. Before the break, we toss onion and garlic in just a little oil and roast it in for our romesco sauce. Then char the corn for our charred corn relish and let it cool in the fridge while we prep the other ingredients, red onion, Fresno pepper. So we got to finish this corn relish. How can I help you with this part?
So go ahead and just take all of that corn, dump it right in the bowl, and go with the onion, go with the Fresno, a little bit of salt, lime zest, cilantro.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna grab the onions and the garlic out of the oven.
Awesome. Now you like to go all in with the lime?
I would start with half, and then let's give it a taste and see where we're at with that.
Perfect.
I mean, I'm an acid freak, so.
Okay. And you just like to do a nice little pinch of salt, it looks like.
Yeah, good heavy pinch.
Give it a nice little toss here.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna go onto the scallops here. We've got our pan nice and hot.
Now, scallops. What should we be looking for? How do we get the right one?
When I cook at home, I actually generally buy frozen scallops.
Do you find a cost savings going that route too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you pull them out of your freezer the day before you plan on cooking them, they thaw naturally. You don't have to run water over them, introducing more moisture.
Now, should you also assume that they're ready to go into the pan, or should you be looking for anything and making sure that they're prepped right?
So, in fact, I've got one here, if we can see. There's this little tiny muscle here.
Yeah.
And it's called the abductor muscle, and it opens and closes the shell of the scallop, so it's really tough from being worked that much. You always want to get rid of that.
So you should always do a spot check before you think, hey, they're ready to go.
Yeah, some of them, fall off in transport or in packaging, but you always want to give them a once over to make sure
It's
they're
that quality control.
Yep.
So what else do we need to do before we get them into the pan?
Not much, other than, like I mentioned before, I always transfer them onto a nice paper towel lined tray.
And that just helps you just absorb even more moisture off of it?
Yeah, and so you pat them nice and dry, because the enemy of a good sear is moisture. And we want a good sear on these. If you're gonna spend the money to get scallops,
Yeah.
you don't want to.
You want to do it right.
Exactly,
You
right?
want to do it right.
So just a couple more paper towels here, just to dab off the tops, so that both the top and bottom are completely dry.
Okay.
And then we've got a really hot pan here. You want to hear that sizzle. We cook with all of our senses, right? So if you don't hear that sizzle when you put that scallop in there, it's not hot enough. Notice also how I'm not overcrowding the pan. I'm leaving some room between these scallops. They need to not be laying on top of each other. If you are entertaining and doing a large batch, it's no real problem to do them in batches or doing them in multiple pans.
Okay. And just, do we leave them? Do we do anything with them? Do we want to touch them?
Right now, you kind of don't want to touch them, because with this stainless steel pan, you can see they're already starting to get a nice crust.
Yeah. Now, would it work just as good in a nonstick pan too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So while those are working, our onions and garlic that we roasted off earlier, we're going to get all of these in our blender for our romesco. Just like the corn, charring those ingredients off really brings out some sweetness in here. Here we got some roasted red peppers. This is, you can roast your own, and it's a really good way of improving the freshness of this sauce.
Sure.
But absolutely 100% okay to get the pre-bought, roasted red
Okay,
peppers.
fantastic.
So these are getting real close. I mean, look at
that's
that
a beautiful,
right now,
absolute
right?
color.
So we're getting real close. I'm going to get the rest of these ingredients in here.
Okay. I'll monitor and keep an eye on this for you then.
Yeah, just make sure they don't burn on me.
Absolutely.
And we're going in with some sherry vinegar, some oil. This is smoked paprika. Romesco is traditionally with almonds, and however, I like to use cashews.
Very nice.
Because they have a higher fat content, so it creates kind of a richer sauce, and they puree smoother. If you can, try to go to the bulk aisle and get raw cashews.
Okay.
Because if they're toasted, they'll get a little gritty when we go to puree it.
To treat yourself to perfectly seared scallops for dinner, grab Chef Drew's recipe at our website, dinnerdeas.com, where you can also watch the whole episode over again if you missed any of the steps. Scan the QR code down there to find us.
I think those are ready to flip, man.
I do too.
Let's give them a flip.
Look at that.
Yeah, beautiful color, right?
And then how much longer would these take on the other side?
So at this point, we're actually gonna, here, let me move this for you. We're actually just gonna remove them from the heat because that pan is still so hot that these are gonna carry over. You don't want a well-done scallop, Just like we were talking about getting a nice sear on them, you don't wanna overcook them and them being tough, right?
And this is going to be the presentation side.
Yeah, look at that,
So,
right?
I mean, and that's really what you're having here.
Now, lastly, what's a seared scallop without a little bit of butter, right?
Absolutely.
You just let them hang out in that butter. They'll finish cooking and...
But we cooked them in oil, but we finished in butter.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that the best way?
It really is.
Absolutely. Well, Drew and I get to enjoy the sweet tones of this blender doing its thing. We're going to spare you guys all of that sound and take a quick break. When we come back, why Caulilini needs to be on your shopping list next time you go to the store. Ahead on Dinner Diaz. Welcome back to Dinner Diaz. Sharing his idea for your dinner today is Chef Drew Dimitrovsky. He's the executive chef at Juno and the Peacock on Beach Drive in St. Pete, serving new American coastal cuisine, and he has a seafood specialty he's making for us. Seared scallops with a cashew romesco, charred corn relish, and sauteed Caulilini. Before the break, we finished up our charred corn relish, combining the corn with Fresno chili, red onion, cilantro, lime juice, and zest, and a little salt. Then we prepped and seasoned our scallops, learning to sear them in a hot pan and not to touch them. Just let them do their thing. While they cook, we blended the ingredients for our cashew romesco sauce. Roasted garlic, onions, cashews, sherry vinegar, honey, salt, smoked paprika, just a little olive oil. And so now you already kind of got it started here on a vegetable here that some folks might not know what it is. So what are we doing here?
Yeah, so this is Caulilini. It is, if you're familiar with broccolini, it's kind of like the cauliflower version of that. It is an Asian variety of cauliflower that hasn't really been commonly found in the U.S. until recent years. I personally favor it because it's got these long, beautiful stems that are tender and sweet. The florets pick up the romesco really well, and cauliflower and romesco is like...
I was just going to say, it's like just a pairing right there in itself that they just always go together.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to get good color on one side. It's going to develop those flavors. I love that charred flavor in general.
So you say on one side, so what are you pulling away from that?
So this is just like a fish weight or a chef press. And as you can see, what that does is it helps the Caulilini make contact with the pan. You don't have to have one of these. You can definitely use like the back end of a spatula and just give them a little bit of a press. Okay. But as you can see, they pick up that nice color.
Very cool. Chef Drew's hard work writing this recipe could mean a delicious dinner for you tonight if you just grab it at our website, dinnerdeas.com. Scan the QR code to find everything you need. If you make this for your dinner, take a photo. We want to know how it turned out. Email us, dinnerdeas@fox.com. That's what Carol did. She's watching in Citrus Park. Hi, Carol. She says her and her husband watch us every day. She made the miso salmon shared by Chef Kyle Luke from Yuppie. She made hers with steamed asparagus and roasted carrots. I mean, Chef.
Well done, Carol. Some good color on that skin. It looks great.
I like that. Carol, keep watching because now we got another restaurant-worthy dish here. How do we get this plated?
we're gonna start with a good healthy portion, probably about 2 ounces of that Romesco,
Okay.
and just make a nice little pool right in the middle of the plate, right? Caulilini is the next step, and we're just gonna take some of this. You know, if I were in the restaurant, I'd be very focused on every little stalk and which way it's facing, but you know, we're at home, man.
And you said that you do this for your fiance, like almost like every couple weeks here.
Every couple weeks.
And what's your fiance's name?
Her name's Kelsey.
Kelsey, all right. And this is one of Kelsey's favorites?
It is.
All right.
It is. She loves when I cook this for her.
That's awesome.
So here we go. Nice little pile of our seared Caulilini here.
Okay.
Then we're gonna go next with our scallops. I like to kind of, so these are 10/20s, which refers to the sizing of the scallop, which means that there's between 10 and 20 of them per pound.
And you stack that last one right on top.
Yeah,
Give it an extra
just
bit of height.
Just get a little bit of height,
I
right?
like that.
Nice little pyramid, and then, you know, this beautiful corn relish that you were gracious enough to help me out with, just right over top of everything, honestly. I mean, it's good on everything.
That looks
right?
absolutely stunning. That is
So,
a showstopper right there.
Last little piece, we've got a little bit of micro cilantro from our friends at Brick Street Farms in St. Pete.
Cool people. We've had them on the show. They're great.
And we just put, so micro cilantro, not only does it look really nice and composed, but it's a little bit milder. You know, sometimes people say cilantro is powerful or soapy, or you'll never have that with micro cilantro.
It's just that nice little finishing touch. I love it. Absolutely beautiful. When we come back, we road test Chef Drew's idea for dinner ahead on Dinner DeeAs. Welcome back to Dinner DeeAs. Drew Dimitrovsky is the executive chef with new St. Pete restaurant, Juno and the Peacock. And not only has he been developing their new menu, he's also got a dish for us, seared scallops with a cashew romesco, charred corn relish, and sauteed Caulilini. My friend, like this is absolutely stunning. Okay.
Thank you.
You know, and the joy about this dish is that these aren't that hard to find ingredients.
No, and it comes together really quickly, you know, with 2 saute pans and a blender, you can make this happen in about 20, 25 minutes.
There's a level of approachability behind it, but with finesse that anyone can just elevate their skills and learn how to do something totally different, totally fun, and in the process, just have fun. Oh, wow. My dear, that Romesco mixing with just those flavors there of that scallop, and scallops are just a delicacy.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite combos. You can see why this is something that I make pretty regularly.
Now I gotta ask you, because I bet you get a lot of people asking about the reason behind the name of the restaurant, Juno and the Peacock. What does it mean?
So Juno and the Peacock actually refers to a fable regarding Juno, who's also known as Hera. She's Zeus's wife. The peacock comes to her and says, I'm jealous of the nightingale's intelligence. I'm jealous of, the nightingale's song. I'm jealous of the raven's intelligence. Like, what gifts did you give me? And Juno says, you know, I already made you the most beautiful bird that there is. You're my symbol. You symbolize me. Like, what greater gift than that can I give you?
Wow.
And it's essentially, we're taking that as just being thankful for what you have and what's available to you. And so in this context, it would be the bounty of the sea, being here in Tampa Bay area, sourcing as much local seafood as we can, and presenting it in a way that is approachable, unique, and exciting.
And it's not only the venture that you've been involved in with an interesting name. Now, back in the day, you were a singer, guitarist for an Ohio funk rock band called Zoo Trippin'. And it's Zoo Trippin'. There's no G. It's not Zoo Trippin'. It's just straight up Zoo Trippin', named for psychedelic excursions that you would be taken on at the Columbus Zoo, apparently?
Yes, so out of all the questions that I thought you would ask me, this is absolutely not one of them.
Okay, because I gotta ask, because I gotta go even further, because the research tells us that the records were described as, by Columbus Monthly, oh, we went deep, my friend.
You did.
As sweaty, celebratory affairs bashing out mindless jams designed almost entirely with just a party in mind.
Absolutely. So,
dude, that's rad.
So I started. The band already existed before I joined, and it was made up of a close group of friends that I went to high school with. Lynn Roos, shout out, bro. I've known him since I was playing Little League, right? And we all just, everything, when you're in a band, you're always trying to define your genre, and we just wanted to have fun. It didn't really matter, right? It was like, we all had kind of a blues rock background, and that's a lot of where we fit in, but I mean, we could have background vocalists, horn sections. There was one show that we were up to a 13-piece band, and our fans are called the Animals. It's a lot of fun.
I gotta ask you the real question. You miss it?
Absolutely.
You still play a little bit?
I do. I keep my hand in for sure. Unfortunately, schedule with restaurant running doesn't really allow me
It's a balancing act.
It doesn't really allow me to gig out, right? Because what days are you going to book?
Totally.
Right? The same days that the restaurant's busy. But I do, and the guys are still going strong back in Ohio, and I wish them the best. They're kind of a local staple in Columbus at this point.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome to hear. And this dish is a staple that's now need to be part of my repertoire and all of your repertoire as well in this rotation. Thanks again to Chef Drew. Find a link to his new restaurant and maybe even his old band at dinnerDeeAs.com, along with the recipes for everything he's been making today. I'm Jeff Philbin. Thanks for watching. See you next time with more Dinner Deeas. That's cool. That's
I
really
love
cool.
how you guys dropped that on me.
Oh, totally, man.